This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, whatever the occasion, it just got a little more personal with meaningful photo gifts from Shutterfly. Add a silly photo to a gold-rimmed mug for your bestie. Put your sweet puppy on a cozy fleece blanket for your teen. Gift your husband a desktop plaque featuring all the kids. Enjoy 40% off orders over $29 with code POD40 at Shutterfly.com and make something that means something.
Hey, I'm Candice Lim.
And I'm Lindsay, and you're listening to ICYMI.
In case you missed it.
Slate's podcast about internet culture.
And Kate, how are we doing today?
Well, so the TikTok ban went exactly how I feared it would, which is things were wildly changing down to the last minute, starting with the ban, quote unquote, we'll get to that later,
Big quotes.
Came early.
Yeah. I mean, like on Saturday, I was doing my little nighttime routine, skincare, Bob's Burgers, Kindle time, and I reach for my phone. It's TikTok time. I opened the app at 7:53 p.m. Pacific, and TikTok was down.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were going to handle the time zones of Eastern, Central, Pacific, but it seems they avoided all of that by just shutting the app off early. And by that, I mean loading this little pop-up message when you open the app that said, sorry, TikTok isn't available right now.
Yeah. And then the weirder part of that message, I think it said something like, we are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office.
Right. So two things of many things wrong with that statement. First, calling him president when the inauguration hadn't happened yet, which is just kind of weird. But then thanking a politician by name at all is just never been a thing by any tech company. It's kind of indicative of the way that this, things aren't how they were the first time around. All these tech companies, all these platforms, they're rolling over to cozy up to Trump.
Yeah. And look, at the time, couldn't even wrap my head around the Trump of it all because, let's be real, the real issue was a critical step of my bedtime routine had now been removed from the agenda. Now that TikTok was unusable, it was taken out of the rotation earlier than expected. I didn't know what to do with myself.
So, okay, so you're in bed, you're ready to rot. TikTok's gone. What do you do instead?
I downloaded Twitter and Instagram again, and I didn't even log in. But in my head, I was like, oh, here are my little backup treats.
So you don't have those on your phone?
I don't.
Wow, that's a boundary queen.
But then I broke the boundary, you see. And so it felt like me going back to my vices. But I mean, what about you? What was happening in your neck of the woods?
So I was literally, and this has been the case for me somehow with all major U.S. political moment. I was on top of a mountain when Biden was first elected president, when that race was finally called. And then this long weekend, I was just totally offline at a ski resort. And by that, I mean I was in the ski lounge on my phone. But still, I wasn't using TikTok. I have a limit set on all those things. And I had already hit it, of course. But a young girl at the table next to me was scrolling TikTok without headphones, which is another argument we could get into about how that's such a thing now, but not relevant to this. But her dad was listening. He was like, oh, what's that? She's like, it's TikTok. And he's like, haha, that's going to be gone tonight. And it made me really indignant because it just kind of reminded me how it was going away. And I was with people. I was being social. I was participating in real human conversation, which meant I couldn't really do the goodbyes that everyone was talking about without being extremely rude to them. But when we were driving home the next day, I opened up Instagram because I'd already given up on TikTok, but I saw the New York Times had a headline that's TikTok is sputtering back, which is surprising and not. And so I opened it up, saw that pop up, and part of me was like, ew, this stay banned if you're going to be like this.
Yeah. Genuinely, I woke up on Sunday, January 19th, the alleged day of the ban. I saw it was back up, and I was like, this is a hoax. This must be a prank. There's no way. But nope. You swipe away the message, Kelsey Kotzer, back on my screen. I cautiously was scrolling like, okay, was this just like TikTok pranking the American public into disabling services and then like bringing them back immediately? What is going on?
Whatever it was a complete waste of time. It was a waste of specifically our energy last week trying desperately to keep up with this story.
Yeah.
I'm upset about this for many reasons that we'll get into, but probably not as upset as certain influencers.
Ooh, 100%. Because my favorite video trend that I saw before January 19th was creators revealing their like deepest, darkest secrets on Maine. And I feel like we just need to run through why this was a bad idea and what they're going to do about it. So let's take a break. When we come back, Kate and I are going to debrief all the influencers who spilled way too much tea before the ban that didn't happen. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there a part of your personal story you've been wanting to revise in 2025? Or maybe you're just ready for a plot twist? Every January brings 365 blank pages waiting to be filled. Life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Therapy can help you write new chapters and create the meaningful story you deserve to live. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's fully online, making therapy more accessible, affordable, and convenient. BetterHelp has a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with the licensed therapist. If you feel like your matched therapist isn't the right one for you, you can easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ICYMI today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ICYMI. This episode is brought to you by Built. If you earn points on groceries, travel, and practically everything else you buy, why not consider earning points on one of the biggest monthly expenses, rent? Built changes the game by letting renters earn high-value points on rent. There's no cost to join Built. And as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your Built points toward. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So, if you're not earning points on rent, you have to ask yourself, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/ICYMI. That's JOINBILT.com/ICYMI. Be sure to use joinbuilt.com/ICYMI to start earning points on your rent payments today.
Hi, listeners. Hope you're enjoying today's show. If this is your first time listening, then welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. In case you missed it, our show comes out twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so make sure you never miss an episode like this past Wednesday's on raw dogging and how linguists picked 2024's extremely online words of the year.
And we're back. So, Kate, a genuine question I have. Even though TikTok went away and came back, did the TikTok ban actually technically happen?
Great question. And you'd think it would have an easy answer. But so here's the thing. TikTok was never required to do what it did, which was take the app completely offline for people who had already downloaded it. It just had to take it away from the app stores, stop accepting new users and downloads, stop sending any updates, and just kind of let the app become inaccessible. So this whole like, oh, we're gone and now we're back and Trump did it, that didn't need to happen. Like they could have just kept on going and followed the original sort of terms of what the Supreme Court upheld. So it was banned, for the short answer, but that ban is not being enforced by the government. But at the time of our recording, the app still isn't back in certain app stores. So it's just kind of a shit show, and I hate it.
Yeah, and now that we're on the other side of this, I think we are left with this really unsettling amount of hysteria, confusion, questions about, was this a stunt? Was TikTok colluding with certain government officials? And like, we'll get to that. But first, I want to talk about the influencers and creators who were jumping on this trend that I saw, which started with this sound that comes from the dad of Family Guy, Peter Griffin, saying,
"Since we're all gonna die, there's one more secret I feel I have to share with you. I did not care for The Godfather."
Kate, did you see this?
Yes, I saw this. In the context of that clip, even though I've not seen Family Guy, the way it's being used on TikTok is creators are taking the sound and then on the screen, they're writing a secret that they've been holding in this whole time. And some of it was kind of shocking and funny. Like there's an account called Stay at Home Daughter, which is what she says she is, a stay-at-home daughter. Mm-hmm. But she ended up revealing that this whole time she's had a corporate job.
And like, I'll say the one that I devoured, but I don't think was controversial really, was Meredith Hayden, Wishbone Kitchen fame. On her like alt personal TikTok account, she revealed that her and her boyfriend, who she called Chicken Guy because she made him a roast chicken, split like months and months ago. And to be honest, the reason why the tea is cold is because Reddit was on this. Like they were speculating that they had broken up a while ago, but the real tea is that after they split, Meredith and her boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend, were paid to do this like Walmart ad as a couple. And she revealed that they had to film that ad post-split. And it was so awkward that after they stopped recording, he just like yeeted right out of her apartment. And apparently she still hasn't like gotten his full explanation as to why he broke up with her. But I was like, you know what? I needed this. I needed to know this. Thank you so much. And the video's still up.
Right. And so in the case of Meredith, that's fun. That's just an influencer hopping on a trend and, you know, fitting their own bit of juicy content into that template. But other creators went a different direction. And I kind of just want to walk through some of the influencers who posted some fourth wall shaking, Aspen Ovard level goodbye TikTok videos that now I have to assume they're regretting.
Please tell me more.
So my personal favorite is the creator of the term cheugy, who we talked about in last Saturday's episode. I guess when she first said the word, she got in trouble, or, you know, people were mad at her because they were like, oh, cheugy is bullying, it's being mean. And she had to kind of come out and be like, no, cheugy is neutral, it's not negative, la la la. Her last day on TikTok video was, no, it was supposed to be mean. It's making fun of you. It was always what it was, which I feel like I always knew. And personally, I find that kind of satisfying. But then there's Meredith Duxbury, who makes these makeup videos. And if you have seen her because she puts 10 full pumps of foundation onto her face. It like is dripping down. It's so thick. And all the comments are always like, why do you have that much foundation? No one could possibly need that. And so in her video, she unsurprisingly admitted that she wiped some of it off. But listen, the globs, the dripping, the grossness of it all, it gets her engagement, and that's her job, so I can't fault that.
Wow. Okay. Now that we're a bit on this haterade train, can I add some to the pile of my own? Okay. I want to start with this creator named @DemonKingKale. He posts these TikToks where he kind of like recaps his dates. He literally posted one where he recapped his "What are we?" conversation. He told stories about his dates with his girlfriend Annie. And then, before TikTok was allegedly gonna go dark, he posted a video saying, "My girlfriend Annie isn't real, and I have been making up stories about her for the past 6 months for content."
That feels like one of those things when like everyone's doing a joke and adding in, and then there's that one person who just goes like way too far. And they're like, oh real, yeah, me real. Also, I do this absolutely insane thing. Yeah.
No, it's wild. I mean, people were in the comments being like, hey, so this is kind of insane. I knew something was off. Like, people are actually shocked. And here's the thing. I don't know if I want to say this was, like, manipulative on his part, but this is pretty much the reverse of one of my actual true TikTok pet peeves, which is when boys on TikTok act single, and then you go onto their Instagram and their pin post is, like, celebrating 5 years with the girl of my dreams, and you're like, so I was nothing to you? Wow. Unfollow.
I actually interviewed some of those types of boys once about like how people when your whole job is to be an internet heartthrob, you have to like hide your relationship. I interviewed some of their girlfriends. It's very funny. They do get people in their DMs. And I don't know, Candice, maybe you're one of them. But but speaking of tea about people in the industry, your next one is pretty industry specific.
Yeah. There was a creator named Abigail Martin. She used to have a podcast with her friend, Abby Jocelyn. And like a year ago, their podcast ended without much explanation. Someone on TikTok asked Abigail what happened. She replied to them saying, I don't feel super comfortable speaking about it. Oop. Well, we have an answer, which is that both of them actually hopped on this trend and they revealed that they ended the podcast because they hooked up for 1 week and things got weird.
Right. And so everyone who always comments on Brooke and Connor's podcast that they want them to get together and they're shipping them and they think they're dating, do not wish for that. Then the podcast will end.
We need the content. We don't need the relationship. This is priorities. And then I want to end on this one. Speedy Mormon. Does this name ring a bell to you?
Literally not at all. It reminds me there's a pizza place near me called Speedy Romeo's, and this sounds like a competitor that would open up across the street.
And they're Mormon.
But yeah, the twist is
it's
they're
Mormon pizza.
Yeah, it's Mormon pizza.
So Speedy Mormon, you might know him from being a Complex host. He's not complex. He just hosts things for Complex. But he makes so many TikToks about being like single-coded. Can I say that? Like he's always lying on his couch talking about it. Angel Reese asked him on stage about his relationship status and he was kind of cagey about it. He comes off single and he used this trend to basically soft launch a relationship. And the thing is, we don't see this person's face. We just see their hand kind of like enter the frame. But after TikTok came back, he posted a video where he was just kind of like bashfully and awkwardly kind of regretting soft launching said relationship because now people are flooding his comments with a lot of questions he definitely was not prepared to answer because he thought he wouldn't have to.
Here's my whole thing with this is obviously the back and forth was exhausting and we were very uncertain, but I do feel deep down I never thought the app was getting banned because I kind of assumed something like this was going to happen, you know, that Trump was going to want to take credit for it. And so it's so, I'm not like being like I'm clairvoyant. I guess I just assumed we all kind of were onto this game, onto his game, onto this narrative. And so it's so wild to me to, well, and you actually pointed this out too. I just remembered this, that it's not like TikTok is their only platform. Like if you drop a really huge truth bomb on TikTok that kind of discredits your work, people are just going to find you on Instagram and be like, hey, what was that?
Yeah, well, here's my question, Kate. All of these creators and many, many more have posted secrets both large and not interesting to their TikToks. And some of them are honestly a little bit like shocking. And yet pretty much everyone I've mentioned, they have not taken down the post. Why is that? Like, why are they not deleting them? Because to me, I'm kind of like, I don't know. This is kind of a blip in history. Is now not the time to kind of lift it, you know?
I think that's actually kind of like what makes TikTok a unique video platform is like people always say like Instagram and Reels are very curated, but on TikTok, I think you see a lot more people transparently being like, I think actually Kelsey Coates talked about this.
Yeah.
She didn't necessarily do this trend, but she was talking about just reflecting on TikTok about how she would put misspellings in her caption or like wear something weird or put something in the background because when people comment on it, it boosts the video. And so I think we really normalized kind of debasing ourselves more so on TikTok where it's just like, okay, they can see, hey, this like career ruining admission actually, if you look at the numbers, is doing great things for my career because their career is being seen. And so I think that's why. But, you know, the sort of awkwardness, it seems like there's a bigger vibe shift here of like, oh, we don't actually sort of have anything reliable to stand on. You know, like even if like TikTok goes away, now it's in limbo and, you know, like what brands are going to want to work with TikTokers now when there's like really no information about how long it'll even be here still. And so, you know, I wonder if creators are shifting how they think about posting because now it's not just one platform and another platform. It's like one will go away. And do they want to just start all over fresh? Do they want to make sure they're posting the same thing consistently across all platforms? Do they want to make sure their followings are consistent? Because Trump sort of has extended this for 75 days. We're just going to have to do this all over again. And personally, that is exhausting. And I'm only on this side of it. I can't even imagine what your whole livelihood, depending on it, how that's affected by the threat of all these changes and how that stifles and changes what you post.
Yeah. And I think in a weird way, there's kind of this parallel metaphor here where I feel like creators are almost mimicking what TikTok did in a very like meta way. Like TikTok claimed it was going to be banned, then it walked it back. Creators posted videos because they thought their main source of income, their platform, was going to be banned. And now all of them have to kind of like walk it back and post follow-ups of like, haha, just kidding, but not just kidding. Sponsors, please still sponsor me, even though I'm literally not in the couple I claimed I was.
I guess it would make sense to do those things if you're looking for an easy way to change your brand, because that can be really difficult. But just like sort of sweep it under the rug of all this drama. But regardless of anyone's intentions, it's confusing. It's confusing for us. It was confusing for them. It's confusing for their viewers. And where there is confusion, there is suspicion.
Oh, okay, Kate, I'm seeing some tinfoil hats entering the frame. Is it conspiracy theory hour?
It is. So let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to recap and debunk some of the conspiracy theories that were thrown around about TikTok's return this week.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states and situations.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs, like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
And we're back. So with TikTok bending the knee along with Mark Zuckerberg and influencers being like, yep, I've been lying to you for years, social media is now a very hairy place to be.
From the moment Trump took office, with tech CEOs front and center at his inauguration, I cannot even get into Lauren Sanchez's "she in office" siren look right now.
Because if we get into that, we're going to have to talk about Mark Zuckerberg looking down her shirt, but we have to move on.
We can't do that. Look, people are extremely suspicious of most social media apps they use, and things just feel very scary and uncertain, which is a perfect breeding ground for conspiracy.
So I deleted Twitter after the inauguration because I was like, I need to feel some sense of power. But I'm still logging on to all the usual places, Instagram, Reddit, Substack, Nodes. And on all of those platforms, I'm seeing the same sort of mass hysteria, freaking out that words are being censored or that something sneaky is happening behind our backs. We've immediately jumped to like Handmaid's Tale level of chaos. And we should be, let's just like simmer it down a little bit. So with that in mind, Candice, I'm going to run through some of the concerns people have flagged over this past week, and we can dive into what's actually happening. The first one is that Meta bought TikTok. Did you see any of this?
I actually did not, but like I could see this not being too far off from the truth.
Yeah, so this is, it sounds right, which is why I think so many people were sort of quick to believe it. And it's one of the first narratives that took hold during those mysterious hours that TikTok was offline. And I do have to hold up my hands and say that I was someone who immediately bought into this. I was like, this checks out. Instagram had switched the profile page display from squares to rectangles, just like TikTok.
Saw that. Yeah.
Facebook had made an account on TikTok. The TikTok CEO apparently removed CEO from his bio. It was all lining up.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Instagram switching like the grid to rectangles actually did kind of like make me mad. And
Oh my
I
God,
would like
I
to
didn't mind it.
publicly
Everyone
plea-
was so mad. And I was like, oh my God, well, that's what I'm posting anyways. I haven't been posting the square in years.
Yeah. Okay, but despite all of this, it's not true.
No, or at least it's not true that Meta bought TikTok in those few hours when it was offline. Actually, Hank Green, who is one half of the Vlogbrothers, he's a creator on YouTube. He made a really great video addressing this specific conspiracy, but it turns out that TikTok CEO actually never had CEO in his bio, so it wasn't removed. It was just never there. Facebook had already made a TikTok account in around 2022, and Instagram was making these changes with like, you know, changing the aspect ratio of posts and coming out with their own editing program, not because it's buying TikTok, but because it was pretty certain it was going to be the place where everyone flocked to after TikTok. So it's just kind of timing. Okay. But the bigger reason it's not true is because that's not like, that would be a major acquisition, and that's not how major acquisitions work. It would have to be approved by the FTC, and that would be something that happened publicly, and it certainly wouldn't be happening really quickly and sneakily on a Sunday.
Yeah, and like, is it true that people were also saying they were like forced to follow Trump and JD Vance on Instagram?
This is another big one. I would say this is perhaps the biggest one. And I don't know why. It's just major celebrities have been posting it. And I just don't think any of this is helpful, because the truth is, if you were following the general POTUS and VP accounts that at that time belonged to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, those accounts are run by the White House. So the White House has control over them and updates them to look and, you know, fit whoever is in office at that time. So, you know, you're following Trump and Vance right now because they're the same accounts you were following before, just with new faces, and everything from Biden and Kamala's accounts has been archived. So, like, it's not that you were forced to follow anything. You already had chosen to follow them, probably when they belonged to Kamala and Biden, and now they just belong to someone else. This is how it's always worked. This is how it was transitioning to Biden. The same thing has happened. You aren't forced to follow anyone.
Yeah. Now, there are these claims that even when people unfollow those accounts, they'll like look again and they're refollowed. What's going on there?
Right. So this hasn't happened to me, which is not to say it's not happening. And actually, Meta did kind of acknowledge this to some outlets that reached out. But basically what they're saying is, in this transition of moving accounts over, the unfollowing system is just going to be a little bit glitchy. But it seems that it'll resolve itself. Just keep checking, and I don't think right now there's any reason to believe this is going to be permanent, because this is not the only temporary glitch that has happened over the past few days.
Okay, because when you talk about glitch, I wonder if you're talking about how Instagram was allegedly hiding results when people were searching up things like Democrat or pro-choice?
Indeed, I am. Now, that is true. Your eyes are not deceiving you. When you searched on Inauguration Day, things like Democrat, things like pro-choice, some progressive causes, it sort of would hide the results saying they contain sensitive content. But Meta also said in the statement that was a glitch that they were fixing. And when I tested it recently, today, everything showed up totally normal. Obviously, the timing is suspect, and it's understatement of the century, really bad that's something they dropped the ball on while the inauguration was happening. That's like a time when they should have been hyper vigilant about those things. And so, while I understand being suspect that it ever happened in the first place, it is fixed now. And listen, I'm not a politician, but I don't think it's common for arms of authoritarianism to go, oh, sorry, we fixed it, fixing it now, when you point out an instance of possible authoritarianism. I'm pretty sure they doubled down. So it has been fixed. Yes, it's concerning. Yes, it's annoying, but it's not this lasting change that you're never going to be able to escape. It's fixed now, and I imagine the same will be the case with the glitch about following and unfollowing accounts.
For sure. Is there anything else that people are kind of getting suspicious about?
Yes. So I don't want to, have the tone of this segment suggest that there aren't things to be concerned about and that legitimate censorship isn't happening. It absolutely is. The key one being the removal of certain crucial government websites. So the first website that people noticed was missing was the .gov about reproductive rights. And then other removals followed, sort of the removal of the entire Spanish language version of the White House website, which is actually a move that Trump pulled during his first term, and then Biden reinstated it. And then there's some other things, like HuffPo was writing about how the White House's official website has also dropped a contact form that was created by the Biden administration that asked users for their pronouns. And it has also removed all HIV and LGBTQ-related content.
Wow.
So the point of this true-false debunking isn't to say that things aren't bad. I'm saying they are bad, which is why we don't need to imagine or invent worse. It just creates this chaos that ultimately keeps us distracted while the real damage is done, like the legitimate removal of crucial resources. So in the meantime, we've linked to some alternatives to those resources in the show notes.
Yeah. And so now we have come to the end, not of TikTok, but of this episode. And before we go, I have to admit something, Kate, which is that when I saw all those creators posting their like goodbye TikToks, I was so tempted to join them. Like I was so tempted to, post a crazy piece of lore just to kind of like release it into the servers and like get it taken away and no one would catch me. And I don't know. I came up with a few things. I wonder if I should just bring it to the stage now. Should I like share with you the TikTok I would have TikToked if I could?
Absolutely. I can promise you this podcast will self-destruct once it is over.
Totally.
You are free to say anything you want right now.
Whew. Okay. If I were to post one last TikTok, it would be about the fact that when I was in high school, I came upon a spreadsheet of all of the faculty, staff, and teacher salaries in my district.
So came upon, first off, passive voice. How did you come upon?
Let's just say I think what happened was like I was trying to go to a teacher's website to find the homework. But as I was scrolling, I saw this like random blog by someone who was kind of like an actively angry parent who had a child in the district. And they just posted like constant content about how much they hated the district.
Oh my God.
And something they posted was a spreadsheet of like all of the names, including those of my teachers. And I looked through it all. And here's the deal. When you're 16 years old, you don't really understand what a pension is. You don't understand what money really is. But I gotta say, there were some people pulling six figures that were not working and earning those six figures. I'm gonna say it now.
Wow.
So
a six-figure teacher salary. Those were the days, I guess.
School.
Yeah.
Public school. And so here I am, hating my AP Econ teacher, thinking he cannot get away with this. So I, that night, asked one of my friends, and I'm not going to reveal his name, all right? We hold each other. We hold each other safely. I told him, can you drop this in like every Facebook group you can think of affiliated with our school? And he was like, bet. And so he did. And I got to be honest, I wasn't really sure if like people would care because it was a spreadsheet. I'm sorry, but when high schoolers look at spreadsheets, they just kind of clock out.
Yeah.
Over the next week, every single teacher was kind of like aware of what happened. I was not attached to it. And every teacher I heard had to stand up and like basically defend their paycheck. They had to defend their salary. I remember I had one teacher who was literally like, hey guys, I just want to start the class by acknowledging some stuff. That's not really what I get paid because that doesn't count taxes. That doesn't count pensions. And people were like grilling him on stuff. And they were kind of like, well, that's really weird because in 2019, I noticed that and like they were getting really flustered. And I was kind of like, it's happening.
Just sitting there. But that's so interesting.
It's
See, I would have hoped that I don't know if you know the answers to these questions, but were they in a union? Because I feel like that.
I think so.
Because like that's the disparity, I'll just say, is interesting and kind of what unionizing could help fix. And so I hope at the very least, despite all the stuff happening on the outside, they were able to maybe use it to, I don't know, organize?
Collective bargain. I mean, the thing is, like, looking back at it, something that I didn't realize, but I remember being upset about, I loved my AP US history teacher. She was the person who made me love history. She literally predicted where I was going to go to college when no one else would. Like, that's my girl. And I remember looking at what she got paid versus my AP Econ teacher, who, once again, I hated. And I was like, oh, this is wrong. Yeah. This is wrong. This is horrible. And so if there's anything that I hope came of that, I just hope that some teachers realize what the teachers across the street were making, and they're kind of like, oh, Sabrina Breyer style, you know?
Yeah. So, yes. And so would you say this was your first sort of dabbling in journalism?
It was so me becoming journalista. I mean, I interned at my first newspaper that summer, and I wasn't breaking stories like that, but I think I got the bug.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, what is journalism if not kind of just being like, have you guys seen this in different on different publications and in different mediums? Okay, that's the show. We'll be back in your feed on Wednesday, so definitely subscribe.
Before we go, our next episode is going to be about where we plan to spend our time in a post-TikTok world, because it seems like every social media alternative is owned by someone we don't agree with or someone we feel a little dicey about. So we'd love to ask you, our listeners, where are you planning to spend your time online this year? This could be Strava, Tumblr, LinkedIn. We really want to know. Record a voice memo on your phone and email it to us at ICYMI@slate.com. ICYMI is produced by Alexandra Botti, Kate Lindsay, and me, Candice Lim. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer, and Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. See you online.
Or not spreading conspiracy theories.
Hi, Slate listeners. I'm Lizzie O'Leary, host of What Next TBD. Our show focuses on the intersection of tech and power, which is, kind of relevant right now. On Friday's episode, we're talking about DOGE, the new Department of Government Efficiency. It's Elon Musk's meme cost-cutting agency that's taken aim at various parts of the government. What can DOGE do? Will the multiple lawsuits stop it? All of that. We're getting into it on Friday. Then, if you are a Slate Plus member, there is more where that came from. Our first bonus episode of The Discourse is now live. Slate's Nitish Pawa joins me. We unpack the broligarchy, including Musk himself, and whatever he was doing with his arm at Trump's presidential inauguration. So you can catch What Next TBD wherever you listen to Slate podcasts, and The Discourse is our special new feature for Slate Plus members.